The need for a more secured economy, social security, and immigration are said to be major issues that accentuated the UK's referendum vote to stay or not to in the European Union. Diplomatic experts also say because the European Union has failed to stop smugglers, terrorists, and migrant workers from infiltrating Europe, and in particular the UK, triggered the Brexit vote to get out. What therefore is the implication of the referendum on Nigeria's foreign policy and Nigerians in the United Kingdom? This is the focus of the Diaspora this week. Don't forget our Diasporan of the Week, news and your mails. Welcome to the Diaspora. I am Gabriel Odu. Let's begin our conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, on the implications of the UK exiting the EU as it concerns Nigeria. Good to meet you, sir.
Good to meet you, too.
Yes, on the Diaspora this week, we are looking at Brexit, implications for Nigerian foreign policy, implications for Nigerians in the diaspora.
Well, it was a real hurricane, you could call it. I think most people did not see that coming. The implications, first of all, starting for Nigeria, I do not believe that there will be major implications for Nigeria. If anything at all, I believe that it would actually be beneficial for Nigeria. Why do I say that? I say that because, when the UK entered the European Union, the Commonwealth and its members thought they became the net losers, as it were, and that the UK's attention would now be squarely on the EU rather than the Commonwealth family. So there could be an argument for saying that now the UK will give more focus to the Commonwealth, and that it might increase its technical assistance to Commonwealth countries. So that's one sort of possible scenario. But otherwise, I believe that the relationship with the UK will remain as it is. There's a large Nigerian diaspora in the UK, so the business relations, the cultural relations between the two countries, I believe will continue as before. One area that would certainly need to be addressed is, the UK has been signing trade agreements in the framework of the European Union.
All right.
We've had the European Partnership Agreement, for instance, that Nigeria hasn't signed yet, but, is expected to, or they hope that Nigeria will sign. Now the UK is probably going to have bilateral agreements, trade agreements, with all these countries because it's no longer under the EU umbrella. So that could also be an opportunity for Nigeria.
The world is a global village, and you get more attention when you are in a group than when you are alone. So that exit is actually an undoing to the UK, is shrinking. Right, so for us, if we're doing a group agreement, UK is shrinking our stake. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't. I don't think so. I think we'll still have, we'll be in a position to negotiate a trade agreement with the UK.
All right.
We'll have to obviously look at our interests in doing those negotiations. Obviously, the UK will probably not be in as strong a position in terms of bargaining power in those negotiations, because before, as part of the EU, they were one of the largest economies in the world, and of course there are more countries, larger market, and a stronger bargaining position. the EU on its own now, it probably would not be, have as strong a leverage as it otherwise might. And so this could also be an opportunity for Nigeria. But by and large, I don't really believe that much will change from our perspective. I think the people who will really feel the change are the British themselves.
Right.
It was really a decision that would, I think, impact a lot more on the UK, economically.
Then the implications for the sub-region. ECOWAS came about the model from EU. Now that this pullout, will it trigger effect similar things in Africa?
Yeah, a domino effect.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't believe so, because I think the basis of our community, ECOWAS, for instance, is completely different from that of the UK, because with the European Union, you have countries that have had 100, 200, 300, 400, 1,000 year history, as countries,
yeah.
So they're coming into this union with from a state of as advanced economies and industrialized countries. We are engaging in ECOWAS with 40, 50 years of history as nations, as those nations behind us. So I would say that it's probably easier to come together when your institutions are not so strong and not so solidified, so from that point of view, I think it's different. And then we realize, I think, in the in ECOWAS, that we're all developing countries, and in a global world today,
yeah.
It's going to be a lot more difficult for each of us, ECOWAS member states, to really be competitive in the global environment, because we have weak economic structures and weak infrastructure, and that our greatest chance of industrialization and being competitive in the global market is as a group, coming together. So I think that the need to stay together is stronger in ECOWAS than it is in EU. So to answer your question directly, there won't be any domino effect.
Let's say perceived deportation of over 25,000 Nigerians from the UK. And one of the reasons the UK is exiting is immigration issues. What's going to happen to Nigerians in the UK?
Yeah, that's a very good point. In fact, I've always felt that it's a bit of an irony,
right,
in that the EU was set up from the European Economic Commission. It's a successor of the European Economic Community, rather.
Yeah.
And, this came up after the Second World War, France and Germany, because Europe, they've always been fighting themselves, right through the centuries. And so after the Second World War, they were looking also for mechanisms to ensure that there will be no more conflict. So peace and security was a very important rationale for setting up the EU,
right,
and of course economics, the larger market, and as you say quite correctly, possibly the immediate trigger in the sense of what made, because this is a second referendum they're having on the EU,
yeah,
what made the difference this time. I think you're right. It's probably the immigration question and terrorism question. For an organization that was essentially set up for other things, and a lot of people are actually saying that they had not given sufficient attention to the economic repercussions,
right,
of this pullout. Now, how it affects the Nigerian diaspora and just immigration generally into the UK is also another point, because they've woken up the following day, and as you know, all the commentators in the UK are now realizing that in effect it probably will not change it that much, if at all.
mm-hmm.
The UK now has to renegotiate with the EU its terms of exit, and they are going to want to have as good a deal as possible, because most of UK's trade is within the EU and with the EU. So they are going to have to tread very carefully. And one of the things that the EU will probably be insisting upon is that if, as is likely or almost certain, the UK is going to want a free movement of goods within the EU to benefit from that large market, the EU is going to insist also on the free movement of peoples, not just of goods. So you're back to square one, in terms of movements.
Right.
And as we know, interestingly enough, there are two kinds of immigration questions that the UK has been dealing with, confronted with. You have the European Union migrants who have a right of abode and work in the UK. So of course we know that a lot of the issues the British had with that is that people are complaining that immediately they could benefit from the social security available in the UK without having put anything in at all. They can already take out, medical and other housing and other social benefits. And so this was something that was resonating with the UK. Another kind of immigration is, of course, the ones from Africa, the Syrian refugees, migrants, and those. That's a different category. But the immediate trigger, was probably more, actually, ironically, the European migrants. And so that's going to be very difficult for them to address if they want to have a good deal, within the framework of the EU. And then the other migrants, it'll, pretty much be, be the same situation. Nothing, would have changed, because in any case, it's just always a question of whether they can reach the UK or not. The EU was not really instrumental in imposing those migrants on the UK as such. It was always, with the Syrians, of course, there was a case where there was an argument that each EU country should try and take a certain percentage, but all these were voluntary arrangements.
You don't have that free entry, because you have different visas. Because if you had a Schengen visa, you enter UK. But now, you cannot have a Schengen visa and enter UK.
Exactly.
All right. So the implications for Nigerians who lived in the EU, maybe in Italy and all that, usually they go very freely to the UK, but now they must possess a British visa. All right. So is our embassy bracing up to this?
Well, not yet, because it's still, not clear. Of course, as you say, the UK was never part of the Schengen agreement.
All right.
So there's no Schengen. The UK was not part of the Schengen zone. So in any case, a Nigerian, if the only nationality you have is a Nigerian nationality, it will just be the same as it always has been, that you have to apply for a visa to go to the UK. Now, I think that if you are resident in an EU country, you, from whatever nationality, I believe, you still can go to the UK if you have a resident permit, But if you are not, then nothing changes at all.
Okay. Be nice speaking with you on this.
Thank you very much indeed.
Right. You keep us updated as issues unfold.
Certainly.
Next on our lineup is the Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, Senator Shehu Sani.
Africa has been, for decades, been relating with the European Union, and Nigeria in particular. And Africa has benefited socially, economically, and development-wise from the relationship with the European Union. There are common tariffs and policies on agriculture, on minerals, on exploration, and on several factors, environment, and many things. Now, The implication of the withdrawal of Britain, particularly to, in quote, an Anglophone nation like ours,
right,
is very huge. We have a history with the United Kingdom that dates back to centuries. As a former colonial power, we have been relating with Britain as an independent country, not until later they joined the Union.
yeah,
Now, by joining the Union, it gave us a greater leverage to deal with the United Kingdom. At the same time, we are dealing with all countries in the European Union. But now, the implications is the very fact that Britain has chosen an isolationist path for which it will be responsible for itself, and for which any deal you broker with the United Kingdom is not binding on other European nations. And by this, the implications are grievous. It has been seen clearly that farmers across the African continent are pained by the decision of the Brits to pull out from the European Union. Cotton exporters to European Union from Africa are affected. Flour exporters from Kenya are affected. Cocoa exporters from West Africa are all affected.
but some people on the other side said it is good, even especially Nigeria. They said the European Union was instrumental to the banning of Nigerian beans to Europe, so that it will also pay us more if we relate directly with the UK. That's what some people say. And also, the UK itself says they want to be fully independent. They want to take charge of itself, take charge of its money, take charge of the immigration issues, take charge of security issues, because the European Union has failed to take care of migrant workers, smugglers, and terrorists. These are the factors. Share your thoughts on this.
Well, what you need to put into cognizance or perspective is the very fact that it does not mean because you are banned from the European Union now that there is Brexit, that the beans you couldn't sell to the European Union, you will sell it to the United Kingdom. Our standard of imports or exports from such developed society is very high. We should put that into consideration. And then secondly, the fears that were put forward by those who campaign in the UK to leave, we are basically putting forward the issue of immigration. They don't want the Polish, the Hungarians, the Romanians, the Albanians to fill up their country, but they were not properly enlightened on the other implications of it. What has happened in the past few days? Pound sterling value has dropped significantly. The British economy has shrunk. There were investors' fears, and many banks and financial institutions in the United Kingdom are shifting base to other countries. The 21st century world is not a reclusive and an isolationist one.
It's a global village.
You must relate with nations. By being in a union, you are safer, you are more insured, you are more secured. The exit of Britain from the European Union does not in any way ensure or protect the country from those very issues. If it wants to block its borders against immigrants, and then from there, that is it, then it is unfortunate.
What's the implication for Nigerians in the diaspora as Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs?
When the United Kingdom was in the European Union before the referendum, a diaspora in the United Kingdom has free access and all the privileges, rights, and the guarantees of a member of the European Union. So what you can take to the UK to market is something you have an open market up to Czech Republic, Slovakia, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Italy, and all those countries. But now, if you are going to UK, you'll be stuck with the island, and that is where it ends. For businesses, it's very unfortunate because in those times before the referendum, when you set up an office in London, the same rule governs London, Frankfurt, Paris, Milan, Rome, and other places. But now, you are simply dealing with one country. So the options are that do you prefer to deal with multitude of nations with a common law, or a nation that isolates itself with its own peculiar government? But policies. What I am saying here is that you are better if you exist as a union.
Yeah.
By existing as a union, there will be an open relationship, and there will also be common defense of policy, and there will also be exchanges and interface. There will also be a sense of collective security. But migration issues has been worked out beyond proportion, and that's what made the British to pull out. But we can say that when you build a country and then you don't want anybody to go there, and then what becomes of your country? You simply become an island that is cut off from the reality of the world.
Too bad. If you're just joining us, this is the Diaspora on the NTA. Stay right there.
NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Welcome back. Now to our Diasporan of the Week. He is Dr. Edi Agbo, an inventor of urine test for malaria diagnosis. Chimdima Ndubisi has more on Dr. Edi Agbo.
A Nigerian residing in the United States of America, Dr. Edi Agbo has invented a urine test for malaria, which is a rapid, non-blood diagnostic medical device that can diagnose malaria in less than 25 minutes. The technology, which is simple and affordable, detects malaria parasite proteins in a patient's urine who has fever caused by malaria infection. The device will facilitate quick, accurate diagnosis and treatment of malaria. This will help eliminate complications including kidney failure, build-up of lung fluid, and even death, often associated with late detection of malaria parasite. The do-it-yourself dipstick, just like pregnancy test kit, is expected to be in pharmacies across Nigeria before the end of the year. The inventor, Dr. Agbo, is a molecular biotechnologist with a PhD in molecular genetics from our university in Netherlands and a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He was a senior research fellow at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, USA. Dr. Agbo won the special prize for social impact for malaria urine test of the 2016 Innovation Prize for Africa Award. He had won the 2015 Health Innovation Awards worth $100,000 and an enrollment in the Nigerian Health Innovation Marketplace program. In 2014, the molecular biotechnologists also bagged the Outstanding Business Innovation by Africa Diaspora Award. The inventor also has many medical publications to his name.
Our email is thediasporanta@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @thediaspora, or text only to +234 8033114000. That's it for this week. Bye.